Good to go. Great. Welcome back to Senate Education, Wednesday, March 22nd, 2:52 in the afternoon. And we have been asked to have folks from Tourism Day join us. And so we have Ms. Molly Mahar here. Is Ms. Roberts here?
No. She's on her way.
Okay. And Ms. Laramie?
She's home with a sick child.
Okay. So
you've got me
here.
now.
Okay. Good to see you. And Mr.
Sorry, Rivard.
Great.
He's with the skiers.
Glad you're here. Okay. Take it away.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having Tourism Day on the agenda. For those that have not met me, my name is Amy Spear, and I serve as the Vice President of Tourism with the Vermont Chamber. We have organized Tourism Day with a collaborative approach with a number of industry representatives from across the state, so appreciate the opportunity to speak this afternoon. Before we kick off, a little bit about the Vermont Chamber. We represent businesses of all sizes from every industry across every region of Vermont. We understand what it helps to take businesses grow and thrive and build strong, vibrant communities. And businesses have trusted us to center stewardship in the mission of advancing Vermont's economy. Taking a broad look at the Vermont visitor economy, it's an incredible economic asset for the state of Vermont. It contributes $3.2 billion in spending annually, drives 13 million visitors, and represents 10% of Vermont's workforce, or around 31,000 jobs. So when a visitor comes to Vermont, visitor spending fuels local businesses that are the fabric of our communities. It creates jobs, generates tax revenues, and it drives growth in the state's economy. Today, I'll take a very high-level view on the importance of education and building the workforce pipeline through education offerings. I know that Molly and Jen will be a little more specific, but in particular, focusing on our educational systems, they play a critical role in cultivating the workforce and the leaders in this industry. Folks that are going through the what is the former Green Mountain College School of Resort Management program now at Castleton. That serves as a direct pipeline into the ski industry, someone that might start in an entry-level position. There are several that are now on the resort leadership team and are executives at Killington, as an example. When we look at our CTEs, for example, they are critical to the hospitality pipeline. CTEs have culinary programs that have students graduate with skills that will be able to put them on the line in a kitchen at graduation if they're interested in that career path. They also lead that program with ServSafe certifications that are the gold standard of industry practice for food safety and handling. So those are two really critical pieces that are in place right now that helps develop our workforce talent pipeline. When we're looking at opportunities or programs that are in concept right now, something I'm very excited about, Hans Van Wies from Hotel Vermont and Joe Garden from the Westport Hospitality Group have been partnering with educators in the UVM system to try to develop a hospitality academy. I think that's a great opportunity for growth and development within our workforce. As I mentioned, the education systems, they're critical for those pipeline of folks that want to enter into the hospitality and tourism workforce. It's everything from engineers, we need attorneys, we need chefs, we need folks that are looking at that broad 50,000-foot view on development. So there's, yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask you a question quickly? So sorry to interrupt you.
No, totally fine. We can make it a conversation.
So I was actually having this conversation with my intern a couple hours ago about students who leave Vermont right after they graduate from college. And the statistic she gave me was that 80% of Vermont law school students leave the state. And I'd like to make that number 0, but I'm curious, do you have a read on why students have a tendency to leave after they get their degree, whether it's law school or UVM or anywhere?
I guess I don't have a broad sense on that. I think there's a number of factors that go into play on a student's decision-making ability or decisions when they're deciding, where do I go when I graduate? I'm an example of someone that grew up and graduated from a college in New York State, and I moved to Vermont. But I think those that are looking here are looking for that talent pipeline and where do I fit in the workforce and the economy here? And part of that is making sure that there's an awareness of the opportunities in the industry. You might have some, for example, that are going to Vermont Law School that are not aware of the importance of stewardship, environmental stewardship, or the fact that there needs to be an attorney for a ski area or for other hospitality businesses. So I think part of it is that awareness of the pipeline of where do those students fit in the Vermont workforce? Because there are a lot of opportunities here. We know that we can't fill all of our open jobs, and education and awareness of the opportunities are critical for that matchmaking.
Also imagine housing is probably a big part of it too.
Yes, housing is a critical issue for our state. Likely you're all aware of how important it is to the Vermont Chamber. This session, we have been advocating for meaningful changes on the housing front because you need to have places for your workforce to live.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Feel free to not answer this, but would you mind sharing what got you to Vermont?
So
Because that's the other piece of it. How do
Yeah.
we get people from other states here?
So I used to work in the museum world.
Okay.
And I was someone that I loved the outdoors and I liked craft beer. And I was given the opportunity to either move to Boston or move to Vermont. And I said in a heartbeat, going to Vermont. So I decided because of the lifestyle choices, because I wanted to be outside, I liked the ethos of Vermont that I wanted to move here. So I thought it was critically important, even me and my community now, I decided to be involved because we're building that next generation. I do it on the rec commission there, but
Sure.
It's important to be involved in your local communities. And I think Vermont embodies that, helps to build our workforce that way.
Please, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's generally all I have to say here. I'd love if there are questions that I can answer about the workforce in particular. The Vermont Independent Restaurants is a close partner of the Vermont Chamber. I work directly with them as their liaison, so I'm well tuned in to the need to develop that talent pipeline for the restaurant industry. There's a mix that you can start within the industry. I believe Senator, you used to be in the industry. Am I remembering that?
Which industry?
In the hospitality industry.
In high school, but
I feel like I remember it.
I was a waiter actually for about a year when I was 18.
Memory like an elephant, I
Yeah,
think.
wow.
It's impressive.
So, I guess the summary of it is that, the tourism and hospitality industry is critically important to the state's economy. Building the workforce through education opportunities and connecting those opportunities to that workforce pipeline is a solution that we can look to in the future. And as I mentioned, the CTEs and existing college programs are a great way for us to start doing that.
Yeah, thank you. And certainly, I mean, one of the things anecdotally we always hear from parents who are about to buy their first home and going to have some children, what do the schools look like? What are the opportunities there? What can my child's needs be met? So that's, I'm sure, I appreciate your focus and your interest in what we do here.
Yeah. I'm very proud of my daughter's elementary school.
Great. Where'd she go?
She goes to Killington Elementary School.
Oh, glad it's a good fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is your senator.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
So, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
I'm Molly Mahar, president of the Vermont Ski Areas Association. We're also known as Ski Vermont. Thank you, Chair Campion, and to the committee for the opportunity to speak with you this afternoon about the importance of workforce development and education to the ski industry. And I'll just say that I too am one of those people that came to Vermont to go to school, and here I am many, many years, decades, let's say, later, still working in the industry and still living here in Vermont. So I did leave for a portion of time, but I really wanted to come back here. So.
And what continues to be amaze me is your last name isn't, I don't think, that common. And yet one of our biggest families in Bennington are the Mahars.
There's no relation.
Yeah, the funeral home, they're connected to where I get my tire, it's a great family. And
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, great
I'm
family.
glad, even though they're not relatives. I'm glad to hear that. So I've not been in this committee before, so I'll just give you a brief overview of our organization. So the Vermont Skiers Association, we're a nonprofit trade association representing 20 alpine and 28 cross-country ski areas across Vermont. And our members range from small community nonprofit areas all the way up to our largest resorts. And similarly on the cross-country side, really small touring centers up to the larger operations like Crossberry, Reichert Nordic, and the Trav Family Lodge Outdoor Center. Vermont is the top ski state in the East as measured by business levels, and we are fourth in the country behind Colorado, California, and Utah. So we're in some pretty good company there. And in addition to being an important part of Vermont's heritage and culture, skiing is a major economic driver, particularly in the rural areas of the state where many of the skiers are located. They're major employers, and they are important in driving tourism and traffic to other businesses that rely on those skiers and summer visitors to create economic opportunity and jobs. Our industry creates about 13,000 jobs in the winter. About a quarter of those are year-round positions. And I would just like to add that ski areas bring thousands of school children to mountains for multi-week ski programs at low to no cost throughout the season to make sure that skiing and snowboarding are accessible to many of Vermont's children.
Ms. Maher, would you say those numbers again, just so we know that, just a sense of those kids that are getting on the mountains that again might not have that opportunity otherwise?
When I did a survey of our areas a couple of years ago, I believe the number was around 12,000 school children.
12,000 Vermont school children ski in Vermont every year at some reduced costs, either
Through their local. Yes. Ski Vermont also offers a fifth grade passport for $20. Gives kids 3 days of skiing at each of our member alpine areas and up to 3 days at our participating cross country areas.
Great.
It's $20. It's $20,
That's great.
but
That's great. That's great.
and then
to me, it can be a skill for life. I mean, I always tease my brother who was a lacrosse player. I don't know, you might be throwing that lacrosse ball around when you're in your 70s, maybe not, but you could be. We all know people skiing in their 80s, 90s, whatever.
yeah, they're amazing.
Senator Williams. Oh, you.
Still skiing with 2 knees and 2 hips.
It's great, right? Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, that is great.
Switching over to working in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space, Ski Vermont is focusing on working with media and influencers of color who may or may not be skiers but are interested in learning to help tell the story of snow sports opportunities, the mountain lifestyle, and to share their experience visiting Vermont with their followers. We've also hosted several roundtables for our member areas with folks from historically marginalized communities to talk about snow sports and their experiences visiting Vermont and Vermont ski areas, and also understanding their perspectives and the barriers that they encounter so that we can remove them. And we still have a lot of work to do, but the industry is very committed to doing that work. So turning now to ski area employment, just to give you a sketch of what that looks like. Ski areas are somewhat unique in the wide range of jobs and occupations that they require, and they also operate in often dynamic weather conditions. So many people tend to think of seasonal jobs when they think of ski areas, and we do create a number of seasonal jobs, both in the winter and summer, jobs like lift operators, ski instructors, guest services, and ski patrol. However, there are many year-round positions that are necessary as well, and these jobs include accounting, sales and marketing, IT, HR, planning and permitting, mechanics, electricians, just to name a few. It kind of takes a village to run a ski area, I like to say. And the ski industry also provides good opportunity for upward career mobility. It's a common story to hear someone that hired on as a snowmaker, and I actually used to work for a gentleman that hired on as a snowmaker and went on to run the company, run the ski area for many years. So that can definitely happen in our industry. And it's a great opportunity for kids that may not be on that college path, or some that may be. So ski areas have had workforce challenges like many other sectors that we know about. On top of the demographic issues facing our state, the rural locations of many of our ski areas make it that much more difficult for them to hire. And ski areas have raised wages between 10 and 30% in the past year. They're paying above minimum wage for entry-level positions, and a number of our large resorts are paying $20 an hour now for starting pay. Housing availability, as we were just talking about, is definitely affecting ski area workforce availability as well. The ski areas that employ international workers do need to supply them with housing, but it's much more common now to hear that question from folks coming from this country that want to, work seasonally, or some of our senior managers too, moving in with families. I know of one family that they moved here from New Hampshire he moved here to take a senior management role, and took about a year for he and his family to find housing. So it's definitely challenging. And so ski areas are working to expand their employee housing capacity in a variety of ways, either by building new housing. They are using existing rental units that they otherwise would rent to the traveling public. They are repurposing buildings that have been used for inns and lodges in the past. And also one of our areas, Smuggler's Notch, is partnering with Johnson State, or the former NVU Johnson, I guess it's called now, to utilize some of their dorm space.
Great.
So workforce development, just a couple ways that we are working on that. We're supporting students in pursuit of higher education and resort management paths. We want to help students understand the opportunities that we were just speaking about. There are a number of year-round opportunities at ski areas that people don't tend to necessarily think about when they think about ski area jobs. So we want to make sure that they understand those, and to support them as they learn a trade or pursue higher education. So Ski Vermont, through VSAC, awards 3 $2,000 scholarships each year to graduating seniors, Vermont seniors that are going into either resort management, environmental studies, or a trade. We've been doing that for, I think we're going into our 3rd year now. So we're also supporting apprentice programs and internships. We support the Tramway Maintenance Technician Apprentice Program, which is kind of a mouthful, but I like to think of it as the Lift Mechanic Apprentice Program. And that's designed to bring new employees in and upscale and return existing staff. This is a 6,000 hour or approximately 3-year apprentice program overseen by the Vermont Department of Labor. So think of, if someone wants to go into the electrical field or the plumbing field, they would do an apprenticeship. So it's similar to that. And this program also includes class time in addition to on-the-job training under trade qualified staff. And Ski Vermont, we administer those classes. So we hire the teachers, and we order the textbooks, we organize the classes, manage the testing, and convey the class records back to the Vermont Department of Labor, which in turn keeps track of the overall hours and the program status of each apprentice. So lift maintenance is certainly a critical skill for our industry. It's a very specialized skill, and having a consistent program to help retain that staff that we have, upscale them and upskill them, and attract and upskill new mechanics is very important. We have more work to do in filling the pipeline into that program, and linkage to the CTE centers I think will be important there, as well as the other trades that we rely on, like electricians. And then finally, we're also working to support the Vermont State Colleges, soon to be Vermont State University, the Resort and Hospitality Management Program at Killington and Castleton University, and the Mountain Resort Management Program at NVU are very important to our industry. We want to see these programs be successful and sustainable. We have many graduates of these programs working in management positions in the industry, both here in Vermont and across the country. The goal is to have and maintain strong resort management programs to support their place-based learning with marketing support, placement of interns, and other hands-on learning opportunities for these students. And in turn, we get qualified candidates with on-the-job experience and contacts at Vermont resorts that can help to keep these students living and working in Vermont, which is really what we want. So I appreciate your time and attention this afternoon, and I was hoping to have a graduate from the Green Mountain, now Castleton, Killington program with me, but she had a sick child and had to leave. So, but she spoke this morning at our joint hearing and did a great job sort of detailing her career path. And she's on the senior team at Killington and Placo now. So it's a great story of the entry level moving up. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yeah. Questions? Questions?
Oh, no, it was very comprehensive.
Yeah. Every winter, I get some, nervous stomach that we're not going to get snow.
You and me both.
Yep. And not only because I enjoy it, but it's so important to my community and its economic success. And to, I don't know, back to our earlier conversation, if anyone's ever surveyed how do people and why do people end up in Vermont? And I know people that come to college here for the education and that experience, but it was, that could have been the tipping point, but it might have been that they got to ski also. And so I know you all have, climate change on your mind and how do we play our role, but also what's the future going to look like? So,
Yeah, it's concerning for sure. And the ski areas have done a lot of work on sustainability, working with Efficiency Vermont, and really trying to be as efficient as they possibly can. But it's interesting because sometimes we get media inquiries about, so what's the ski industry doing about climate change? And it's like, well, it's a much bigger, it's a global problem. It's not, the ski industry is not going to solve it. Although I will say they have been working for the better part of the last 25 years on sustainability, and it's a good.
And when I said that, I was just thinking the state, like what's our role, and
Yes.
responsibility, and then
Yes.
individually, of course,
Yes.
as well, businesses and our own individual lives. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a complicated, as we all know, it's a very complicated issue, and I know that work is being done in another committee probably as we speak right now.
Yeah.
So,
And it seems like, at least in the past decade, there's been a real uptick in trying to diversify and offer all sorts of
Yes.
summer opportunities and things like that, that kind of hopefully keep the bottom line
right.
up a little bit in case.
Right, yeah, it's sort of developing that critical mass of, being able to grow at a pace that you can finance, but also, getting to a point where you have enough for a family to come for the day or for
Yeah.
the weekend, and, something for, smaller kids and bigger kids and the adults, and, looking at mountain biking, for example, it was big and then it kind of declined, and now it's coming back, and that's a great sort of lifestyle family activity as
Where
well.
you take the
that-
bike up, the chairlift and get dropped.
Yeah.
I used to do that. It was a nightmare, but
There's-
but I just wasn't a great mountain biker.
Well, things that, I've been skiing most of my life, and when I stand at the top of a hill with a bike instead of skis, I'm like, wow. Something that I would not think twice about skiing down on a bike, it's different. But the development of family trails too, it's not just
Right,
all
yeah, no,
all the downhill, but the cross country and the, so they are developing really trails for sort of all levels, and it's expensive to do that, which is why it takes them, a few years to get going. But I think, it's great to see that type of development for summer and fall as well.
Thank you very much.
Excellent, thank you for your time,
Sure.
appreciate it, and for making time for Tourism Day.
Yeah, of course. Is there anyone else that wanted to say a few words? Yes, please.
Jen Roberts.
Yeah, come on up. Yeah, yeah.
Hi,
Hi.
thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was a little bit late.
Okay. Glad you're here.
I'm Jen Roberts. Store downtown called Onion River Outdoors, my husband and my daughter. And so Kelly asked me to give a little bit of information about what it's like to be part of the outdoor recreation economy, both contributing to it and participating in it, rely on it. So our shop, Onion River Outdoors, is in downtown Montpelier. We've been there for 5 years, but we are building on the previous store, which was called Onion River Sports, which was there for 40 plus years. So we sell and service all kinds of outdoor gear. We sell skis, bikes, snowshoes, backpacks, tents, car racks, and a lot of technical clothing and footwear. We also do community events, and the point of our community events is both to get our community into activities where they can bike and hike and run and use the local trails and roads, but also so that we can highlight organizations that are and fundraise for organizations that are building the trails and doing the hard work of maintaining them. So each year our organization, our business gives about $10,000 to the trails that we feel like do the best job of serving our customers and our communities and drawing visitors from afar. We have some really significant challenges that we face as a downtown family-owned business. And so I wanted to share the 3 biggest ones and also some ideas for solutions. I think that these pertain to businesses across Vermont. So I think this is a snapshot of ours, but is probably experienced widely in Vermont. The first one is housing, which is no surprise to anyone. And I'm not going to offer a solution to that, but we are heartened to know that it is recognized and being addressed.
We're open to any solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have one, but infill, that's what I think. The second one, we need a highly technical work staff. We need bike mechanics and ski techs who require professional training as well as on-the-job experience before they can do their job safely. And the safety of our customers is in their hands. So this is really important to us. These folks do not, there's not a lot of bike mechanics out there or ski techs. They need bike mechanics take courses in suspension overhaul, wheel building, hydraulic systems, electronic shifting, and e-bike motor repair. So these are all, some of these things are fairly new in the bike world and require a lot more training. Ski techs need to know how to safely mount bindings and torque test the release systems. Car rack systems require full day off-site trainings for our staff in order to put those on safely on cars. Even our floor sales staff need a lot of technical experience in order to know the features of all the equipment and fabrics. So in order to get staff, we have raised our wages to try to attract more highly trained technicians. We train staff in-house as well as we have sent some promising staff out west to bike mechanic classes. So that's a pretty big expense for a small shop like ours. To retain employees, we offer benefits like paid vacation, paid sick time, retirement plans with company match, and flexible work schedules for mostly for parents and students. But we are having trouble meeting the demand. You know, outdoor recreation is growing, as you've been hearing all day, I'm sure. And bike season has barely started, and we're already scheduling more than a month out for bike tunes because we don't have enough capacity to meet the demand that's here. So a couple solutions to this problem, and this is the case with all bike shops that I'm aware of. Nobody can get enough trained bike mechanics. So the primary one is investment in workforce development and career pathways. The career and technical centers that are part of our high school education systems are really set up well. They're poised to be able to offer this, but they don't currently offer much in the way of outdoor recreation, education, and career pathways. So we need bike and ski technicians, we need trail builders, and we need outdoor gear design and manufacturing. Those are all budding or existing industries in Vermont that are not well supported by the current career pathways. The third challenge that I wanted to mention is, again, any locally owned brick and mortar store is facing this, is that Vermont has a relatively small population and we only have so many customers within a reasonable drive of our shop. And with the advent of online ordering and these mammoth online companies, small businesses are struggling to compete with that. So that's where outdoor recreation tourism comes in. And we have 60 million people within half a day or a day's drive of here who love Vermont and who want to come here, want to ride bikes and ski and, know Vermont as a place to come recreate. And so we want to bring them here. We want to support them coming here. So, and we know that they contribute not only to our recreation economy, like the ski areas and the scenic trails, they also sleep in our hotels and eat at our restaurants and shop in our stores. So it's good for all of us. So finally, in conclusion, I just want to say, we have this traditional outdoor rec economy and history in Vermont. And I think we need to adapt to the higher skilled and higher paying jobs that are now part of it. There are opportunities for our young people to learn these skills and have well-paying jobs here. But we need to put into place the career pathways via the tech centers or our state college system in order to allow kids here, young people here to get that training, and our businesses to be able to hire people who are already here and want to be here and who are committed to Vermont.
Yeah, you raised this interesting situation around nimbleness of this, or our tech centers, how they can change, how they can evolve, communication between the Department of Labor and tech centers. Yeah, it's important for sure.
And there's a lot of that starting to happen.
Yeah.
There's certainly some adapting that is happening, and Kelly at Vermont Outdoor Business Alliance, Kelly is doing a lot of work to try to bring some of these outdoor career pathways into the tech centers and working with Vermont Technical College also. Yeah. But there's a lot more that needs to be done in that regard.
Great. Any questions? Any other questions? This has been incredibly helpful. Really appreciate it. And you've been in economic development already, I'm sure, this morning. Commerce.
Well, we had a joint hearing,
Okay, good.
but then Senate Economic Development had to leave to work on the housing bill. So they were there for a little bit, but
So we have Senator Hardy here only for about 5 minutes. You're all welcome to stay if you want to add more after she's finished, whatever works for you. But feel free to stick around one way or the other. Stick around, listen, or stick around knowing that when Senator Hardy's finished, you're more than welcome to jump back. Okay, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we know you have all
Senator.
right stuff.
Yeah, we have to talk about DMV bills.
Great. So we had a walkthrough a while ago of your bill.
Okay,
So we just thought we'd like to get everybody in at some point, Bill sponsor. So
yep,
want you to have an opportunity to say a few words.
okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you. For the record, I'm Senator Ruth Hardy from the Addison District. It's nice to see you. It's nice to be in my old committee room. And booked as always, I see. So you had asked me to come in just to talk briefly about S66. And this is a bill about the designation of public schools for school tuitioning purposes. Sorry, I'm just trying to get organized, but I know you've had a walkthrough. I know this is an issue you will talk about a little bit more when you get a bill from the House. But just as an overview of S66, as you all know, in the wake of recent Supreme Court and both state and federal Supreme Court decisions, it sort of has changed the landscape a little bit for school tuitioning in Vermont. And what S66 does is prioritizes the designation of public schools only for school tuitioning. It creates a definition of public schools that are all public schools in Vermont. Public schools in other states that are designated as the ability to tuition. For example, the example that I give a lot is Hanover High School. We have students from Vermont towns that go over across the border in New Hampshire. And I know down in Center Campion's area, there are others, and probably in yours as well, where students go across state borders to other public schools in those states. And then it includes the designation of other schools that are independent schools that meet 3 of a 4-part sort of test. And that is, the 4 parts are that they have been created, chartered by the state,
in state law and state statute, that they have a CTE, Career and Technical Center. I think that's what you guys were just talking about, actually. That their teachers are part of the state teacher retirement system, or that they had been defined as public schools in state statute as of 1991. So if they meet 3 of those 4 criteria, then they could be designated as part of the public school tuitioning program. And the 4 schools that meet those 3 criteria currently are the 4 historic academies. In S66, the relationship with therapeutic schools, between therapeutic schools and public schools, would remain. Therapeutic schools are specialized schools that provide specialized, I'm using the word special too much, specialized special education services for students. And they're mostly, they are services that can't be provided by public schools. They are services that are so unique or high-end or that require special training. So in those cases, public school districts could contract with therapeutic schools to provide those services to public school students. There would no longer be this kind of concept under S66 of an approved independent school, but there would still be recognized independent schools. And those would be schools that meet, they would be private schools that meet the basic health, safety, and curricular requirements, so that students attending those schools, we would be, as state, assuring they were safe, healthy, and basically followed the curricular standards. And this would come in a transition period of 5 years, so it wouldn't happen overnight, but it would happen over the next few years as school districts would designate other school districts that don't have their own school, either elementary or high school or both, would designate public schools to be the public schools for that community under the parameters that I just laid out. So by 2028, there would be, no longer the sort of tuitioning to what's currently called an approved independent school. It would just be public schools. So that's the overview, and I'm sure that I see you have counsel in the room that can give you a lot more details about the detail of the logic and the legal parameters of it. But really, this is, one of the bills that has been introduced in the wake of the sort of tumultuous legal situation that we find ourselves in right now, and wanting to make sure, from my perspective, one of my priorities is that during this period, we really prioritize public schools, and that there are areas in our state where we've divested from public education, and that communities don't have the options for public schools that they once had. And we've had a sort of large increase in the number of independent schools. And this would really focus on the importance of public schools and public education and the role that they play in a democratic society, and making sure that all Vermonters have access to a high quality public school education.
We did have a walkthrough, but it was a while ago. But we will likely have Ledge Council join us again once we get what the House sent us,
Yes.
which we heard today is on the floor tomorrow.
Oh.
So yes, on the floor tomorrow. So
Excellent.
in the meantime, any burning questions for Senator Hardy?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Well, yeah, thank you all.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you.
Senator Campion,
You're
for
welcome.
having me in.
Thanks for coming down.
Pleasure.
Please.
Have a few minutes?
Yes, please join us. Thank you. Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Just tell us who you are for the record, Kelly.
Yes, thank you. For the record, I'm Kelly Ellison, the Executive Director of the Business Alliance. We are a statewide nonprofit organization representing 100 outdoor companies ranging from manufacturers to retailers to outdoor centers, guides, who is producing products or providing services for the outdoor sector. And as you've heard today, we have been really working hard with the businesses on understanding some of the workforce challenges. And we know we can't solve that huge problem like housing, but we understand that there are that we can move the needle and really create some partnerships that lead to future employees and higher skilled workforce in the current employment circles. So we have been working, so we've been focusing on trades and the technical education, as you heard Jen speak, and I imagine Molly was speaking about that as well. We have been looking at trail construction as all this infrastructure dollars and a lot of emphasis on outdoor recreation and stewardship has increased the need for trail crew, trail leaders, and all sorts of specialized skills that are involved in that. We also have this great need and a growing need for bike mechanics and ski techs, as you've heard about, and then also gear and apparel manufacturing. And so we have been working over the last year with Vermont University to develop a partnership around the Sustainable Trail Certificate. They have a very deep natural resources program in their outdoor recreation program, and they were very excited to think about adding an element that would really feed into the employment pool for trail crew employees in the state. And so in the fall, they're launching a Sustainable Trail Certificate program and a series of boot camp workshops to really provide this training and education in a flexible way, but also based on some standards that they have created working with the industry and working with national associations. And Vermont will be the first in the country to kind of host this kind of certificate. And the goal is that we can build out live credentials on top of that around trail construction. We've also been working with Linden Institute and their Project Bike Tech, which is a high school curriculum. It's a national program. It's the only CTE and program here in the state, but they work closely with Kingdom Trail Association and the local shops to provide students a level 1 and level 2 like fundamental certificate, and therefore they are have some competencies for employment in the sector. And so with our grant, which we'll be launching this year with the Vermont Outdoor Recreation Economic Collaborative, we hope to be expanding on these partnerships. And we've been working with CCB and soon to be Vermont State University and their workforce directors to develop some opportunities around these needs. And looking at Castleton and Vermont Tech as in these outdoor hubs, these communities that have a real concentration of shops and visitors to be able to host bike mechanic training and education, not just for fundamentals, but look at some of the more immersion curriculums that exist in some of the bike shops in other states, and that allow Vermont to have its source.
Senator Williams.
Yes.
Is there an issue of credentialing the instructors for trail, the certificate
Yes,
program?
in fact, we are planning on training the trainer. Well, we brought in industry leaders to be instructors when both the London Institute, like I can't say we, because I can't take credit for that, but the institutions have brought in industry leaders to teach. And that would be the model moving forward, is really look to our master builders, our master mechanics in the state, and really benefit from their expertise and bring them in, and then build those ties with the shops and the field work. So people can also.
We have Slate Valley Trails
Yes,
system.
Coldney, of course.
And then Analog Bike Shop is, they're top quality, but I don't know what are the certification.
They have, they worked, I understand from James, the shop owner, that they spent 4 years developing their curriculum with 10
Yes.
different mechanics
Great.
to, and they are working on a different set of bikes than the ones that Jen was talking about, the electronic shifting and suspension, but they have really designed their own. Many shops, I know Ski Route 2, they also design their own curriculums that they spend years developing, and then they train their own staff. And the challenge is that when they're training their own staff, the trainers are not doing service, they're not on the floor with the customers. And so they have, the shops have really said that it's really nice to have people come into the shop with those fundamentals or with those skill sets that are specialized.
See, I think I see different people doing different things in their own corner. How do you unify that?
Yes.
And get is there a national certification program? I mean, trails are erosion. It's a big deal. And I know that Slate Valley Trails has a really good engineer for,
Yes,
Trails.
Hardy, Avery,
Yep,
their
Hardy.
builder and
Yep.
patron. And the Professional Trail Builders Association, I believe, is that body nationally that has helped to inform the curriculum at Northern Vermont University for the
Okay.
certificates and the boot camps, which we hope to expand and do train the trainers. And then the same with bike mechanics, we have Project Bike Tech, and there are other bike school curriculums that have been vetted and in place, and industry, driven for years that we hope to pull together to support this.
So what do we do there?
Well, I heard earlier, just the support for the career and technical education centers. They would be nice partners. I think, just the support of the education system and identifying opportunities to work with education. And as we build out these credentials, their support in really helping to build those capacity within the institutions is probably a really helpful step.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you
coming
very
in. I
much.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for coming in. Very helpful. Yeah, very, very important. Committee, I think we'll leave it there for the day. I know there's a reception upstairs starting at 4.
I know.
Yeah.
If anybody is
Just join us.
interested, yeah, all sorts of
There's also some excitement in the house.
Oh, really? What's
Oh,
that?
yeah.
The firearms bill is fixed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a debate going on right now.
yeah.
And people have a little extra time to also, I'm gonna work on a flow report. I know you've got a flow report. She might have a flow
Yeah.
report. Yeah, so.
That's what I'm going on to.
School safety.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
Tuesday.
yeah, yeah,
Tuesday.
Yeah.
So how do we, all I hear is everything seems to lead to CTE. And to get it organized, how can we as a legislative body do a bill or something that gets these guys the
Yeah.
support they need to pull it together?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be key, once we hear back from the weighting study, which will be in later this month as well as July, they may come back and show us that people who are going to CTEs are gonna be weighted more heavily, those students, and therefore they would get more funding. Be interesting to see what they, because as you may recall, the weighting study looked at, took issues of poverty, ESL students, and I'm not sure what they're gonna do, given some of the technical equipment, et cetera, that
Who's doing that?
it's joint fiscal, which we'll have it back, we heard today at the end of March, and then AOE will pick it up from there.
Because I mean, if you're a bike mechanic and a
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah.
And the best one in the region.
Yeah.
You're probably making some pretty good money. How do we get those cream of the crop to get into the CTE program?
And teach, yeah.
Right, and that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
and
It's
I
gonna
think-
take some money
Yeah,
to offer to get these experts.
and I think some of it could be just local decisions recognizing that they need, that they've got, 7 or 8 kids out there that might want this training, do almost like a pop-up course, hey, we're gonna get you trained in 5 weekends, or like sort of thinking outside the box sort of thing, some of it. So,
Sure.
okay? Thanks, everybody.